So, spiritual practice really is characterized by a fundamental shift in orientation. And here I want to speak a little bit to that shift that you have to make in order for any practice to be successful. And the shift involves basically a reorientation from the content to the perceiver, you could say. So imagine that all of your life you have only been oriented towards one side of reality, towards content. And you have made part of that content an identification, a self out of part of that content. So whatever you perceive yourself to be right now is not actually the ultimate perceiver. You are identified with part of the one side. And all you know is orientation towards that one side. So this fundamental shift away from seeing only the form side of reality and not its emptiness side. That is what any spiritual practice really is about. And some teachings say that you can go directly towards emptiness, that you can skip any intermediate practices of quieting the mind, and you can just recognize that form is also emptiness. But then there are also more progressive practices where they recognize that not everybody can do that. In fact, most people can't do it. That first of all, you have to quiet the habitual tendency to identify with parts of your mental fabrication. That you are not identified as much with the way you perceive reality, your idea about what reality is. And that is really where the progressive path is located, in that area where it's said, okay, you have to start just with focusing on the breath, quieting the mind, disidentifying with the constant self-story that you tell yourself. And this can be very valuable. And in fact, after a certain point, you will recognize that even with the direct pointers to just let go of everything, go directly to emptiness, actually the practices become quite similar after a certain point, where it's still about, when you go directly to that emptiness, recognizing that, oh, there is still a slight subtle orientation towards form. They are more subtle. They may be your ideas of awareness or space itself or the one who perceives or whatever, but you will recognize that actually it's not true emptiness. Almost nobody can go there all the way directly. So even when you kind of are able to stay out of the conceptual mind, out of the monkey mind, out of the thoughts for prolonged periods of time, and you have strong concentration ability on a very subtle object, then that's still not emptiness. But that's a very good place to start. But sometimes you also need more practice to get to that place, actually, because you intend to meditate. A few seconds later, you find yourself in a thought story, absorbed in that, lost in that, then you come back. And sometimes you need a more coarser object, and then you can gradually refine it. But yeah, that's something I wanted to mention, because it's not about, and it can get lost in some teachings or in some people's mind about what meditation is. It's not about the objects, the ability to concentrate and so forth, but it is about making your mind ready for this shift in orientation. That's what's the point in all of this. And be able to really, really, really deeply let go, which is not what you're used to. And it is connected to feelings of fear, uncertainty. When you're not ready, you will feel that. And it can come about with strong feelings of resistance, anxiety. And so these gradual practices can actually be a lot more enjoyable in the long run, where you let go of all of these attachments to form quietly, progressively over time. So I hope that you got something out of this, that what you are working on may not be the actual end goal, but maybe just something intermediary, and that's perfectly fine. Or that maybe your orientation in meditation actually has to shift, because you have been meditating on a certain object for a very long time, many years maybe, and actually you have gained a lot of insight into impermanence, selflessness, unsatisfactoriness, but you tend to keep coming back to those same insights, and maybe you have to go deeper. And maybe what is showing up in your meditation is that actually the objects become less clear. They are falling away. They are dropping into emptiness. And this is not a step back. Maybe you can realize that it's a step forward. It's not that you have to permanently perceive the form. After a certain point, you have to let them go also into emptiness. And you will recognize the point when you can stay aware, clear, in the present moment without the object, or with a finer object that at first it may seem like, okay, there, it seems like I have arrived at emptiness. You stay perfectly clear, but then you recognize, oh, there is still some subtler object here. And then you stay with that, dissolve that, let it go deeper and deeper and deeper. And so your emptiness actually gets more and more refined, your conception of what emptiness actually means. Yeah, I think that's it. Hope these pointers were helpful. Let me know your questions and comments down below. I will see you in the next video. Bye.